Hey, welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. My name is Josie, and I'm so glad that you guys are spending a little bit of time with us. It's dreary and chilly here, but it's part of being February. It's not got anything to do with old Punxsutawney Phil from last week. Just simply that's the way it is, and we've got some colder, wetter weather coming in. I think every day we have rain chances, but maybe one. We got a really good rain last night, and it's muddy here. You need rubber boots to walk around out in the pasture and in the cow lot and different places, but it is to be expected. It's been really windy here today, not so much, and it would have been a lot chillier. I had some outside work to do. Had to go rodeo for a little bit. Not really. It wasn't really that bad. I just opened the gate and my bull had gotten out and he just walked right back in, thankfully, and two cows, and hesitated just for a little bit because Chief, Blade's German short hair, he was out there with me, and had them on point, and they weren't sure whether they would. Now the bull, he just come on through. He didn't pay any attention to the dog. But the two cows that were out, they weren't 100% sure about him. Although he stood perfectly still, he pointed. Blade would have been so happy with this form, and he looked pretty pointing. However, it was cows that he was pointing, so I don't know their strike against him. But anyway, they come on in, and I got that done. Feel satisfied that I was able to do something, even if it's just a little thing. You know, really, sometimes we have to encourage ourselves because others aren't really around to say, hey, good job. You know, we need to take those little victories, even if we have a little bit of a challenge, and sometimes it can be challenging. Sometimes those cows, they're just like kids. They don't want to listen, but today was a good day, and they went right on in, and I'm thankful for that. And now I'm winding up the evening, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time with y'all. Last week, I told y'all that I was going to go out of town for a funeral, and I did do that. My sister came and got me, and we went and stayed at a lake house with some of our other family members that we haven't seen in a long time, long time, and some of their children and grandchildren I have never met. And that happens with families sometimes, and it's a sad thing. We all hate it. Everyone said, you know, oh, it shouldn't be so long till we see each other next time, and it shouldn't be something like this that brings us all together. And all of those things are true, all of them for sure. But we get caught up in life as well with jobs and our families, and we don't mean for those things to happen. But time just speeds along sometimes and happens before we ever even realize how much time has passed. And so what was beautiful was those of us that had known each other, and we come back, it was just like seeing them like we had seen them yesterday. And that's a good thing about family and good friends, is you might not have seen each other for a while, but when you get together, you celebrate being together, and we're able to grieve our loved one and comfort one another, spend time together. And so here I am back on the farm. My sister's back in Louisiana. It was cold and rainy and misty and chilly the 2 days that we were there, and just up by Ketchum and Veneta, Oklahoma is where we were at. But it's 2 hours from here, and it was cold and it was windy, and my sister about froze. She's from Louisiana, and she got keeping up with the weather where she's from, and it was 82 degrees there. So we had to go to Walmart and pick up a few things, and one of those things that she bought was 2 pairs of these really fuzzy house slipper type things, because she was freezing. So anyway, she's back home in the sunshine and the warmer weather. I'm here, and I'm not giving credit to old Punxsutawney Phil, because I read through last year's show notes that I was on here with y'all, and it said that one of the things that I brought up on the film for last year was that it was nice and sunny, but the weather was getting ready to turn. And so it's just a yearly thing. Some years we have colder, wetter nastier times than we have others, but it's not anything that's unusual or unexpected. So here we are. It's chilly. It's, misty and we have rain for several days in our forecast. But I just keep thinking, hey, it's raining now. That's going to be good for spring, get the pastures greening up, getting ready for another growing season. And this summer, we always pray for rain. So I'm definitely not going to complain about any kind of moisture that we get. I might complain a little bit about ice, just for safety reasons, but I want to, be thankful for any kind of moisture and count it a blessing. And so there we are with all of that. Thank you to those that calmed my nerves a little bit about being called for a jury summons to pardon, to see if they think that they want me on the jury. I'm hoping they don't, but I know it's that it is a right and a privilege of a citizen, and so we'll go next week and do that. And so I thought that we would spend a little bit of time this week. On Friday is Valentine's Day, and I know that a lot of you are thinking of things, gifts for your significant others, how you can show them your love. I know some are thinking about flowers and jewelry, candy, whatever the case may be, dinner reservations, whatever the case may be. Maybe some of you go out of town and take a weekend trip, since Valentine's Day is on Friday. And I was thinking about Valentine's Day, and if you look it up, there's different thought processes of how Valentine's Day came about. But we know definitely from where it started to what it is now, we know it's definitely commercialized. It's big business. It's big money. Cheyenne was telling me just a little bit ago that here locally, roses are $100 a dozen. Now, I don't know where you're at. They may be higher. They may be cheaper. But here, they're $100 a dozen. And if you want filler, I'm assuming what they mean is you can get the dozen roses in probably a wrapper for $100. But if you want it in a vase with filler, whatever the filler might be, it's another $20 added on top of that. So that is kind of expensive. Not to say that your significant other is not worth it. But I have family members that have never, ever gotten flowers for their spouse because they viewed that as a waste of money. Not that the spouse wasn't worth it, but they couldn't justify spending the money on flowers that's going to maybe last a week or two in a vase. Our last Valentine's Day that Howie and I spent together in 2020, before he passed away in December of 2020, that year he was talking, and he usually kind of put his little fillers out, and he knew that I loved flowers. And so getting me flowers was never something that was something that he had to think about. Would she like flowers? He knew that. But, he would begin to think and kind of ask and see what I was kind of thinking that year. And I told him, I knew he was going to get me flowers. And I said, Howie, and I'm so thankful that I did. I said, I wish this year and going forward, but how life goes, and I got one, that you would get me something that I could plant and that I would always have. And so that year he ordered me a David Austin rose. We looked through and I picked the color that I wanted. And I got a Lady of Shalott rose, and we planted it. And so every year in the springtime, since he passed away, it buds out and it blooms and it lasts all summer, and I get to enjoy it. And I look at it, and it's just a little reminder of him. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that we chose something that was going to last. And I began to think about that and how we have things that are temporal things. And we have things that are longer lasting. And in our relationships, we pray that things are long lasting. We pray that they're lifetime. Some are not. Some relationships are temporal. Not just with our spouses or our significant others before we get married. We have temporary relationships with coworkers or friends, and we move on, move to other jobs or other places, and we lose contact, kind of like what I was talking about with our family. We lose contact, and we don't necessarily mean to. Other times it's severed on purpose, and people go their separate ways, and they don't ever want to hear from one another again. But we hope for that lasting thing. We hope for that thing that shows some permanency, that shows some stability. And that little rose bush in the backyard has been through a lot. We planted that rose bush, and it did some blooming that first year that Howie and I had it. And then the next year in October or November, I think it was up to October, we got some bad storms, as tornado storms. And we were in the safest place we have here, which is not the safest, but safer than being in a mobile home. We were in there, and the storm blew through, and there was some damage done, tree damage, power poles. The electric company had to come out, and the path that tornado took and went through there, my sister-in-law had bought me an arbor to put up behind that rose, and it was just anchored in the ground. It was made of iron, and when that tornado came through and the wind caught it, it pulled it over, and it pulled that rose bush up out of the ground. Not totally, though, just some. And it just tore that arbor up. But I was able to replant the little rose bush because it wasn't all the way tore out. It was, just a little bit. But I was worried about it. I was concerned. So I just refixed the ground and put back the things that had blown down. I think there might have been a couple of branches that were broken and had to be cut off. But that thing has flourished. And I thought about that with love and our relationships, how, they need to be deeply rooted. And people are so careless now to think about throwing things away, throwing their relationships away. Now, I know that there are some relationships, abusive relationships, that people, for their safety, they need to get away from those. And I understand that. There are other things that happen, and those things are understandable. But we are so quick sometimes to give up on something. We have a little bit of trouble at work, or we have a little bit of, something that's not quite working with a certain project that we're doing, or maybe it's as simply as trying to learn something new. And we have some frustrations with that, and we have some concerns with that. And the very first thing we do is say, I quit. I'm not doing this anymore. And we give up on things that we can't see the beauty in that thing. Relationships, especially, seems like anymore are throwaway relationships, whether it's your romantic Valentine type love or any kind of love, really. We have to move beyond the butterflies. What I mean by that, remember what it was like when you first realized that you were in love with your spouse, and you just couldn't hardly wait to see them, and those butterflies would get moving in there, and they just had to look at you a certain way, or their eye might twinkle just a little bit, or they give you a special smile or a head nod or whatever, and you could just feel those butterflies. And I remember what it was like experiencing that with Howie and realizing that I was definitely in love with him, and we were both extremely bashful, but we did manage to start dating. And once we started dating, in last of March, 1st of April. He gave me my engagement ring on my birthday in June, and we got married in October. So it moved really fast, but we knew that it was of the Lord, and we trusted that we had found the person that God had for us, and we were committed to not giving up on one another and not giving up on love, no matter how rough or tough it got. We were going to stay together, and we had seen failures throughout life and hardships and heartaches because of it, and we were determined that we wanted to be different, and we wanted to make things work. And that's not pointing fingers at anyone. That's just saying that we wanted to be different. We wanted to stay together. But I will tell you, throughout the years, the butterflies never went away. He always could put a smile on my face, and he could make my heart smile just by being the person that he was. And I hope and I pray that y'all have somebody special like that to you, that you have your person. He was my person. And I think that sometimes people don't realize that you have to get beyond the butterflies. You have to get to a place that it's not just the feelings that you get when they look at you. It's not just the emotions that you feel when they take you by the hand, or they give you that special smile or whatever. It's beyond all of that. Because I will tell you, in life, you will find out that you're going to walk some bumpy roads together, and you're going to face some things that's going to shake you, could shake you to the very core. And if you are unwilling to hold tight and determine that you're not going to give up, that you're going to go beyond the butterflies and hold on to this relationship, then you could possibly become one of the statistics that people are always spouting about divorce and about remarriage and about this and that and the other. And I know sometimes divorce happens and it's not the fault of one or the other. I realize that. But and sometimes we just got to hold that thing together, and we got to make it past those rough and patchy places. Illness sometimes takes place, and one or the other spouse could be really sick, and it takes you have to get up every day, and you have to face that you have to be there for your spouse, and you want to be there for your spouse, and you want to do all of the things that you can to make them feel as comfortable as they are. We don't always understand the things that we go through. We don't ever understand why, and sometimes we want to ask why. When I went through loss, and we experienced loss, we know that there are lots and lots of widows and widowers that experience loss, and they question sometimes, well, we had a good relationship, we had a good marriage, we had this or we had that, and I don't understand why we have to go through this. And I've heard people say that. And when I became a widow, I didn't want to spend all my time being angry. I didn't want to spend all my time saying, woe is me, or poor me, or this or that. And I caught myself sometimes looking at people, I wouldn't say green-eyed jealousy, because it just was a little bit a twinge of, I won't get to experience that, or this or that. You know what I mean with when you think about, how your spouse would maybe pat you on the arm, or, take you by the hand or something. But a wise lady, one of my YouTube subscribers, she told me one time, she said to look at it like you were blessed to be married to that person. And that's what I decided to do. To count myself blessed to be the spouse of Howie Ferguson, to know that I had that love that moved beyond just butterflies to my best friend, my secret keeper, the one that I could worship the Lord with, that could say, hey, Stace, help. That would say, hey, Josie, I need you to help me pray about this situation. The one that when times were rough in life and you would hear your spouse cry out in real tears and real agony because you knew they were going through something. I was blessed. Blessed. I could tell you story after story after story to encourage you to find that love. I was so sick one time, and I can remember I was in bed, and it was in the night, and I was running a high fever. And you know how sometimes a high fever will just make you kind of, not necessarily hallucinate, but I was having a rough time. And I could remember I woke up, and I was, groaning, and just, I was just uneasy, and I felt a hand over on me, and I heard my husband praying for me. That's special. That's the kind of relationship, if you're a believer and you're not saved yet, that's the kind of relationship that you need to seek out. Someone that will serve the Lord with you, someone that will pray for you, that will get serious and pray for you and pray about you. Howie oftentimes would get a little fussy with me, and he was the preacher, and so when he was delivering a sermon, he oftentimes would say, I would get so frustrated with her, and I'd be praying, and the Lord say, I gave you what you prayed for. People laugh and they chuckle about that, but if you're single and you're thinking about, here's Valentine's rolling around. I don't really have a significant other. And you can pray for the person that God has for you. Pray for them daily. You don't know where they're at, what they're doing, but pray for them. Pray for their family. Pray that they are hearing from Him. And pray for what you want. You want a godly person. You want, I say him, her as well. Pray for them. You want somebody that serves the Lord. You want somebody that's going to love Him. And then they're going to love you. And your relationship is all going to fall into place. It's not that you don't have hard times and troubling times. We had them. There were times when running a business that we had to go without a paycheck ourselves so that our employees could be paid and so that we could meet the needs of the business. And that is hard. That's hard when your spouse says, this is what we have to pay the bills. This is what we have to buy groceries, to put food on the table. This is all we have for gas to get back and forth. Those are hard. It's hard when you have you watch your parents, or you watch your children, or you watch others go through things. But it's so, so wonderful to know that you go through it with somebody by your side. So I encourage you that if you don't have a significant other in your life, especially if you're a believer, start seeking the Lord and start telling Him about the person that you want in your life, that you want a godly person. That, you know what, I'm going to meddle just a little bit more and tell you that if you're looking for a godly person, somebody that serves the Lord and hears from Him, you're not going to be looking in the wrong places for them. If you want a godly man or a godly woman, get out of some of those places that you spend time in looking for someone, and get into places that you're going to find a good and decent person. So I hope I've said some things that would encourage your hearts today. Maybe, write your spouse a love letter and just tell them just how thankful you are for them, and how encouraged you are by them, and the things, how grateful you are for just the little things that they do. Remember that we have to move past the butterflies. We can keep the butterflies, but We can keep the butterflies, but we have to realize that we have to move beyond them, and we have to know that there's so much more than that in our life with our spouse, our significant other. And so one day, when you're old and gray, you've been blessed to know that God blessed you with your person. The shop light came on. That you were blessed with your person, and you look back and you'll cherish all of your memories. But I hope I've said something today that's encouraged your hearts, that maybe jogged your memory just a little bit of how it was when you fell for your spouse. You fell in love with them, and I pray that they still make your heart smile. Until next time, guys, this is Josie. I love you guys. I really do. Keep looking well to the ways of your household. Till next time, we're gone.